Hello, my name is Donna Belk on the End of Life Journey, and this video is about using poetry as a practice tool for dying. Having some tools available during the dying process is, I think it's wisdom. I think it's a good way to practice and think about your dying times. So I find this poetry inspiring for living and soothing in regards to dying. Here's a piece I wrote yesterday in writing group. The prompt was the best part about dying. The best part about dying is being able to prepare for it. Where do you get an opportunity to contemplate and investigate the deep meaning of living if it is not by looking at not living? And one can never begin too early. We're all on the end of life journey. We're just at various points along that journey. One of the things I like to do is gather poetry that I find inspiring about death. I gather it to inspire me about living and to prepare and embrace my dying time. I don't want to walk into the dying situation unprepared. I mean, you wouldn't go through pregnancy without planning for it and even practicing. It helps things to go more smoothly if we're somewhat prepared. So, why would we go into death without educating ourselves and preparing for it? One of my current favorite poems is Lovely and Soothing Death by Walt Whitman. Here's the streamlined version of it that I use. I did cut some lines out because they didn't speak to me, but I can do that because this is just for my own purposes. Come, lovely and soothing death, undulate round the world, serenely arriving, arriving, in the day, in the night, to all, to each, sooner or later, delicate death. Dark mother, always gliding near with soft feet, have none chanted for thee of fullest welcome? Then I chant it for thee. I glorify thee above all. I bring thee a song that when thou must indeed come, come unfalteringly. Approach, strong deliveress, when it is so. When thou hast taken them, I joyously sing the dead. Lost in the loving, floating ocean of thee, bathed in the flood of thy bliss, O death. Viewing death as a birthing into a new way of being gives me comfort. It depends on what perspective you have as to whether coming into this world is living or is it dying from the previous world. And is so-called death simply dying to this world and being birthed into another way of living? As a child about to be born, we are simply leaving one world, the safety of the womb, where we float, breathe in water, are nurtured continuously through the umbilical cord. Yet it's not a catastrophe when we die to the womb and are born into a different place. So it is not a catastrophe when we die to this world and are born into a different space. It's natural. We see over and over again in nature how life changes, adapts, evolves, and continues. It seems the natural way of things. The poet William Blake says, I cannot think of death as more than the going out of one room into another. Or as Krishna admonishes Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, if you think you die, then you do not understand the nature of reality. And in Song of Myself, Walt Whitman writes, the smallest sprout shows there is really no death. All goes onward and outward, nothing collapses. I am not contained between my hat and my boots. I love the way George MacDonald describes this in his poem Silver Bough. On either hand we behold a birth, of which as of the moon we see but half. We are outside the one, waiting for a life from the unknown. We are inside the other, watching the departure of a spirit from the womb of the world into the unknown. To the region whither he goes, the man enters newly born. We forget that it is a birth and call it death. The body he leaves behind is but the placenta by which he drew his nourishment from his Mother Earth. And as the childbed is watched on earth with expectance, so the couch of the dying, as we call them, may be surrounded by the birth watchers of the other world, waiting like anxious servants to open the door to which this world is but the wind-blown porch. I leave you with these words from Emily Dickinson. The world is not conclusion. A sequel stands beyond, invisible as music, but positive as sound. Thank you. Wishing you well.